Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Global Cooperation House and to our program this evening, which is The Compassionate Mind. Just before I start, I'd like to thank Jill Fernandez for his lovely violin playing. I'm sure you will enjoy that peaceful music to welcome us to the building. So thank you, Jill. My name is Sarah Eager, and I'm your MC for the evening. I'm a doctor and I work in the NHS in London. So as you can imagine, compassion is something that is quite high on the agenda for the NHS at the moment, and something that's very dear to me. So I'm really looking forward to this evening and for the discussions and the depth of insight that we are going to experience through the conversations that we're going to have and the wisdom that Dadi will share with us. Just to say, for those of you who are here for the first time, the Brahma Kumaris, this is a host. The Brahma Kumaris are hosting this event. They are the World Spiritual University, and they teach Raj Yoga as a way of experiencing peace of mind and a positive approach to life. So the university provides opportunities for people from all religions and cultural backgrounds to explore their own spirituality and learn the skills of reflection and meditation derived from Raj Yoga, which will help develop inner calm, clear thinking, and personal well-being. So that is the work of the organisation that you've come to tonight. So back to the topic, the compassionate mind. And this got me thinking, are we really in a crisis of compassion at the moment? And I think maybe we are. Certainly in the field of health, and I don't think it would have escaped your notice with all the inquiries that have been going on, in particular lately the Francis inquiry, about how in hospitals things seem to have got into a very bad state. They were described as appalling examples of extreme care deficits. And I know it's, the kind of thing that grabs the headline, but stories such as people having to drink the water from the flower vases because they were so thirsty, and their meals being given but not within their reach, and just really extraordinary examples. And of course that got people thinking, what on earth is going on? Because people come to nursing or come to a healthcare profession because they are compassionate and they want to help people. So why on earth has it got to this state where really people are feeling they're being dehumanized? And a lot of people are looking into this. What's blocking the compassion? What's stopping people being able to really show the caring that they were trained to deliver? Another area that I think is of great concern these days is really the lack of self-compassion. And again, as I'm a psychiatrist, I'm very aware that suicide is a very big problem at the moment. Someone commits suicide every 20 seconds worldwide. It's an extraordinary statistic, isn't it, really? And suicide kills twice as many people in the UK as road accidents, and I don't think people are aware of that. And I think this is a real crisis as well. People are really struggling to be kind to themselves and just don't really feel that they have the self-esteem or the self-worth or the happiness that means that their life is worth living. So how has that happened? And I think people are thinking, how can we create the conditions in which compassion can flourish? And there are lots of good initiatives that are happening. In the slow movement, there's something called slow ethics, this idea that we should slow down and really think about what we're doing and take the time to connect with each other. So generally, there does seem to be a real lack of balance somehow, that this compassion is missing from our world in media, in politics, in all walks of life. Then I was very interested in what do we mean by compassion, and I think most of us, when we do something like this, we think about, well, what's the dictionary definition? So I looked it up, and it says to suffer together. And I thought, is that really what we want to do? Do we really want to suffer together? And, further it says it's being inclined to mercy. You have sorrow for the suffering of another. You have pity or a feeling of suffering. And this idea of com is with, and passion is also the same word that is derived from patient, the one who suffers. So it's to be with the one who suffers. But I think it'll be interesting to hear what Dadi has to say about suffering together, because I think she may have a different take on that. But a nicer definition is understanding or empathy for the suffering of others, and most crucially, helping them to come out of that suffering. And I think that is what really is a very significant aspect, because it involves some action, some active desire to really alleviate the suffering of others. And it tends to come with this golden rule. It's often mentioned that do unto others what you would have them do unto you. Or there but by the grace of God go I. So we're all in this same boat together. And when you suffer, I also care. It's somehow connected to altruism. It's spoken about in all the major faiths, and all the major faiths do indicate it's something about the nature of God, that God is compassion. And it's something to do with love. And it's something that happens between human beings. So I think tonight we'll have a very rich conversation and discussion about really what is the compassionate mind, how can we cultivate it, and how do we deepen our experience of that. So what I'd like to start by doing is inviting one of our special guests from the former USSR. She's a very special teacher. She's been practicing Raj Yoga for over 50 years. This is Sister Chakradhari. I'd like to invite you up onto the stage just to share some thoughts of yours with us for a few minutes. So, Sister Chakradhari Ben, I was talking to her earlier. She's an amazingly busy lady. She runs or supervises lots of centres in Delhi and over 50 Raj Yoga centres in the Baltic states and the former Russia states. So I think she will have a lot to be able to tell us about how do you maintain your compassion in when you're doing a very busy job and a busy role. So welcome, Chakradhari Ben. Yes, thank you.
Good evening and warm greetings to all. जब मैं यहाँ बैठी तो मुझे एक कोटेशन याद आई. बहुत अच्छी कोटेशन है. कहा गया है दया धर्म का मूल है, पाप मूल अभिमान. तुलसी दया न छोड़िए जब तक लग में घट में प्राण.
When I first heard of this topic tonight, then I remembered a saying that we have in Hindi, and that is the root of compassion and kindness is the religion of
It is
Daya Dharam ka mool hai. Compassion is the root of religion, and sin is the root of all ego and arrogance. And so, whilst you are in this body, never to let go of your religion, and that is compassion and kindness.
So ये बात हम बहुत समय से सुनते थे, और मैंने देखा रियली अपने एक्सपीरियंस में, क्योंकि मुझे बहुत थोड़ा सा टाइम दिया है आपने. मैंने एक्सपीरियंस में देखा कि जहाँ कंपैशन होता है वहाँ मनुष्य कुछ भी करने को तैयार होता है.
I'd like to just share something from my own experience and I've really experienced it. When someone has a feeling of compassion, then they're willing to do anything.
और ये कंपैशन कब आता है? जब हम सबको देखते हैं और एक स्पिरिचुअल, एक डिवाइन फैमिली फीलिंग हमारे अंदर क्रिएट होती है. उस समय ये कंपैशन बहुत सुंदर आता है.
It's a very beautiful feeling of compassion when we see one another as one family. when there's the feeling of togetherness and being part of one family, you definitely have the feeling of compassion for each other.
वह मैं आपको अपने एक्सपीरियंस से सुनाती हूँ। जब 1989 में मैं फर्स्ट टाइम, उस समय यूएसएसआर था, गोर्बाचोव प्रेसिडेंट थे, उस देश में गई। सचमुच मुझे उस देश में जाकर एक ऐसी फीलिंग आई कि किस प्रकार लोग, जिनके घर में जो ज़रूरत की चीज़ है वो सब कुछ है, लेकिन डिप्रेस्ड देखने में आते हैं और उनके चेहरे में बिल्कुल खुशी नहीं है।
1989 was the first time I had the opportunity to visit Russia and the different states there. And I was seeing that whilst I was visiting people in their homes and families, that they weren't lacking anything. They had everything physically, but yet on their faces there wasn't any kind of happiness, but instead the feeling of just great depression.
और मुझे ऐसा आया कि मैं चाहे 10 दिन के लिए यूएसएसआर में गई थी, लेकिन जो खुशी, जो जीवन मुझे मिला है, मुझे इनको जो भी मेरे सामने आएंगे, मुझे उनको वो खुशी और ये जीवन देकर जाना है।
I was there on a visit for just 10 days, but in that I had this deep feeling that whilst I am here, then I definitely want to give them that experience, the experience of happiness that I have received in my life through this meditation.
So मैंने उनको जो स्पिरिचुअल नॉलेज मुझे मिली, जिसने मुझे जीवन में सदा खुश रहने का एक बहुत सुंदर फार्मूला दिया, मैंने उन्हें उस फार्मूले को सुनाना शुरू किया और उनको इजी वे जीवन में कैसे चल सकते हैं और डिप्रेशन से मुक्त कैसे हो सकते हैं, ये सब बातें मैंने उनको डिटेल में समझानी शुरू की।
I just began to explain to them in detail the spiritual knowledge that I had received and the formula that I had been applying in my own life to be able to experience that happiness.
उस समय लगभग 1000 की संख्या में लोग थे और बहुत प्यार से सुनने के लिए आए कि इंडिया से एक स्पिरिचुअल सिस्टर आई है, डायरेक्ट स्पिरिचुअलिटी हमको मिलेगी, इस भावना को लेकर सब वहाँ इकट्ठे हुए।
At that time it was a real miracle that there was about 1,000 people that came to listen, and from that I gathered that there was a deep thirst for that spiritual knowledge in everyone. And when they heard that this spiritual sister had come from India, then really it was like their thirst was being quenched and they came to listen with so much eagerness.
धीरे धीरे कुछ सर्दी का मौसम होता चला गया और मैंने इंडिया में तो कभी स्नोफॉल भी नहीं देखा था, लेकिन वहाँ -25 टेम्परेचर आ गया।
And Didi had gone there around the time of winter approaching, and in India she had never experienced any kind of cold climate. But then visiting Russia, the weather was getting cold and the temperature almost -25.
25.
First time she was experiencing the snowfall.
So जब मैंने इतना ठंडी थी, लेकिन मैं आपको रियली सुनाती हूँ कि मुझे वहाँ के लोग सब कहें, दीदी हमारे देश में बहुत ठंडी है, आपको बहुत ठंडी लग रही होगी। मेरे पास केवल साड़ी, स्वेटर और यही ड्रेस थी जो मैंने ये ड्रेस पहनी है, एक शॉल, स्वेटर और ये ड्रेस। मेरे पास और कोई ड्रेस वहाँ नहीं थी, क्योंकि मुझे मालूम नहीं था कि मैंने इतने ज़्यादा दिन वहाँ रहना है।
When I had gone, I hadn't gone prepared for the climate that was there, so I only had this uniform, just one cardigan and a shawl. And the people there seeing me, they were saying that, sister, you must be feeling very cold here because our country is so cold, the climate here is so cold.
मैंने एक ओल्ड कोट खरीद लिया क्योंकि ठंडी से अपना बचाव भी करना था, लेकिन मुझे कोई ऐसा नहीं लग रहा था कि बहुत ठंडी है। क्यों? वो मुझे ये कहते थे बहुत ठंडी है, आप हमारे देश में कैसे रहेंगे। मुझे ऐसा आया कि ये भी एक मेरे परमात्मा के बच्चे, एक फैमिली है और ये जन्म भाई जन्म यहाँ रह रहे हैं, क्या मैं इनके लिए थोड़ा समय भी नहीं रह सकती?
So I just bought a coat to just keep myself warm, but at the same time I was feeling that these brothers and sisters here, they're so much concerned for me and for my feeling so much cold. But inside I wasn't feeling that much cold because I was actually feeling the warmth of their feelings and what they were sharing, because inside me I was feeling that they've been living in this country in such a cold place for so many births. So can I not just share a few days with them to share the warmth that I have received?
और जब मैंने उनसे अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस शेयर किए और उनकी शक्लें चेंज होने लगी, उनको खुशी आने लगी, उनका खाना पीना सब चेंज होने लगा, मुझे ये था कि उन्होंने भी ये कहा कि हम आपको जाने नहीं देंगे, तब तक नहीं जाने देंगे जब तक आप हमको पूरा ज्ञान न दे दोगे.
And as I was explaining the knowledge to them, all the principles and everything, then they immediately began to adopt those principles, and I began to watch their transformation on their faces. Their faces began to smile, they were experiencing so much happiness, and I was really feeling that if I can give this feeling, then I'm not going to go until I have really given them something much more worthwhile.
और रियली मुझे इतना मदद मिली कि 3 मास के अंदर सेवा केंद्र वहाँ रजिस्टर्ड हुआ और एक ब्रांच खोल दी गई.
And then the help that they received from everyone was that within 3 months, they were able to open a center and register it as a place of meditation, and then the service started from 1989.
और उनको जिस समय भी कहते थे, सुबह 7 बजे आओ, 7 बजे आ जाते, शाम को आओ, शाम को आ जाते. मैं कहती आप जॉब पर नहीं जाते. उनको ऐसा लगता जॉब पर तो जाएंगे, लेकिन ये जो चीज़ हमको मिल रही है, जिन्होंने हमको इतना रिलैक्स किया है, उसके लिए हमारे पास बहुत समय है.
Whatever time we told them to come, whether it was early morning 7 o'clock, in the evening 7 o'clock, they were also eager to come, and they would arrive punctually on time. And so we would ask them, do you not have to go for a job or anything? And they'd say, but this is something that's really, we have been lacking for so long, and so if we're able to get this, then we can do anything. And so they're able to come at that time to receive that.
और मैं समझती हूँ मेरे मन में उनके लिए अपनेपन की फीलिंग थी कि ये मेरी फैमिली है और ये मेरी फैमिली के मेंबर्स हैं, इसलिए जो मुझे एक्सपीरियंस मिला है वो एक्सपीरियंस इनको ज़रूर देना है. और जिन्होंने उस समय इस एक्सपीरियंस को लिया, मैं समझती हूँ लगभग 75% आज तक लगभग 22 वर्षों से 23 वर्ष चल रहा है अभी, वो अभी तक ज्ञान में चल रहे हैं. और अगर कभी आप उनके चेहरे देखेंगे तो मैं समझती हूँ उन सब के चेहरे आप सब से जरा ज़्यादा खुश नजर आएंगे.
From that time until today, all the brothers and sisters who came and took the meditation, they're still, I feel about 75% of them are still there. And if you were to see their faces now, then I definitely feel that they have much more happiness than what I'm seeing here on all of your faces.
ये दया, वास्तव में ये दया मैंने उन पर नहीं की, ये तो उस ईश्वर के जो प्रसाद था मेरे पास, वो मैंने उनको शेयर किया. और यहाँ तक वो योग्य बन गए क्या वो इस चीज़ को दूसरों को शेयर करके इतनी ब्रांचेस जो इस समय चल रही हैं, वो वहाँ के भाई और बहनें उन ब्रांचेस को देखते हैं और वो सेवा करते हैं.
And so it's not just the feeling that I have that it was my kindness and compassion, but it was the Supreme who had given me that happiness and taught me all of these things. And so the feeling inside that I had was, this is all my family, my brothers and sisters, and I wanted to share it with them. And so this is what enabled me to give them all of this. And really that's what's kept them going even until now.
And the result is now they start to give this knowledge to others and make them equal.
Yeah.
Now I'd like to introduce 2 people who are going to have a conversation about the compassionate mind. And our 2 conversationalists tonight are Clarke Peters. He's a very well-known American actor, singer, writer and director, and he's very well known for Five Guys Named Moe, and especially 2 roles in TV dramas in America called The Wire and Treme. And the character in The Wire is a very thoughtful, peaceful soul, actually, who carves a lot of wood. So if you've ever watched The Wire, you'll know that it's quite an interesting part that Clarke plays in this. So Clarke uses meditation as a tool to neutralise the negative in today's world, and has had a lot to do with the media, and is also a family man, so has quite a few thoughts to share with us on what it really means to be compassionate in today's world. And joining him is Sister Maureen, who is the program coordinator here at the Brahma Kumaris in London. But most of us really know Maureen as our big sister. She's really a very, very compassionate person. She's the kind of person who'll just keep an eye out to see if you're okay, and you have that sense that she's really looking after everyone. So her role in the house is very important in terms of giving that family feeling and that big sister feeling. So I'd like to welcome Maureen and Clarke both to the stage. Thank you. Just while they're getting to their chairs, when they've finished their conversation, we will be entertained by a song from Minal Patel. And Minal is a professional actor and writer, and as we will find out, he has a very special voice, and he'll be singing a very lovely song about patience.
I've got a son who challenges me at 17 years old at every turn. Yes? Can I go out tonight, Daddy? Well, I'm not too sure. Can I do this? I'm not too sure. Have you studied? Well, I'm not too sure whether I want to do that right now, Daddy. It's sometimes difficult to exercise compassion when it's being pushed so far. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, your buttons are being pushed, I understand.
Talk to me, please.
Yeah.
You're my big sister.
You know, it's sometimes it's easier, isn't it, to be compassionate with people we don't know so well. You know, there's a sort of, you can stand back, you can see the situation, you can sense a person's need, but when it's somebody we're intimately involved with, it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
And I sometimes, okay, I may not have teenage children at this point, but I certainly interact with a lot of people every day who I'm very involved with, and I have buttons as well. And
Yes.
but I don't know about you, I feel at that moment I have to have some compassion for myself, you know, to calm myself down. Isn't that right?
Yes, I was hoping you were going to say that. Because
You know, because sometimes we feel it's selfish to take time out for ourselves,
Yes.
but
yes,
we can't move on without
yes,
that.
absolutely. And is that like just looking after ourselves while looking after others?
Yeah,
Yes.
well, you have that experience, because I know that you, from what I know about you, one is the family that you look after, but whenever I've seen you interact with anyone, I've known you over the years, you care for everybody. That's my feeling. Am I right?
I guess so. I think you're right about it. It's almost easier to have compassion for someone who's outside your
sphere,
gene
yeah.
pool, so to speak.
That's a good way of putting it.
And why, I don't know. Why, I don't know. I think sometimes I feel it's the world that we live in. The whole world feels like it needs compassion. You know, I think that there's a saying that a man had given me in New Orleans. You'd ask him, how is it today? He'd say, well, it's hard for a conscious brother, man. It's hard for a conscious brother. You know, and I started to think about that, and it is. If you are conscious of this world today, there are a lot of things that'll test you. You know, a lot of things that'll push your buttons. And being in the media, we should be a little bit more responsible with it, because some of the times it's the stuff that comes up in the news, you know, or it's on the radio, or you're walking by and you overhear a conversation of someone on the telephone, you know, and it's coming to you at all angles, from all sides, without your even knowing. Yeah, so it's, we do, I guess, have to look after ourselves as well, yeah?
I was, you know, that bombarding of, you know, the negativity. I think for me, what moves me in a way, or what makes me feel that need for compassion, is because in the way things are happening in today's world, or in society in general, everything seems to be geared towards taking away people's dignity, you know? And, you know, when you're talking about your son, I think about young people, and I think particularly in Britain, young people are not given the voice that, you know, society says, well, you know, or the media says, young person equals problem, but yet, you know,
you do
they're
a lot of
very...
work with young kids as well.
I do quite a bit, but, and I see that, you know, when we had the riots, I think about 3 years ago now, whenever it was, and on the one hand, first of all, there were all the voices that were saying, you know, these kids are a problem, they should be punished, you know, etc., etc. And then bit by bit, the voices started to come out, the questions. What are we doing as a society? What have we done as, you know, the older generation to create this vacuum where these young people are not feeling that they're valued, you know, that they have worth? Many can't get a job. You know, when I was studying, when you were studying, we wouldn't even have dreamt of, you know, coming out of college and not having a job. And today, all of those normal things that give people a sense of self are not there. And I think it takes a lot of nurturing, a lot of understanding, a lot of inner strength to be able to rely on your own inner dignity in the face of what's happening around you. And that's where it is. It's the inner strength is so important, isn't it?
Yes, it is. There's 2 points. One is that those riots began focused on the children. But then when you looked at the television and you saw the looting going on, those were not children that were out there looting. They were adults, they were professional people. And it made me think that what started in the press as young children of color starting this riot turned into really everybody venting or needing something. You know, and so the media had it wrong, but it was a moment that I think showed us a need for what? Compassion? I don't know. For the self? I don't know. But there's something lacking. There's something lacking, and the atmosphere appears to be nurturing that. The other point is, if this week's Time magazine has, the cover of it is of a young girl sitting down or laying down taking a photograph of herself with a camera. And if I hadn't finished the article, but I found it interesting that I should be looking at it while coming here, and we're talking about the youth. And how this generation, I think they're called the millennium kids, you know, who are up until about 25 years old, who, like you say, you would never think of coming out of school without something to do, you know, without some place to go, without a profession, some way to look after yourself. And yet there's a generation now who are still at home with their parents. 25 years old, still at home with their parents. That would be unheard of in my day. First of all, I couldn't wait to get out of the house. Secondly, I'm sure my father was glad to see me go. Yeah, but there's something in the way that they're communicating with the technology, and I think that the technology sort of distances us from the family unit being the place where we learn these relationships, where we are not only exercising a compassionate mind, but also receiving this. You know, it's not just about putting it out, it's also being able to accept that without feeling that you are less. You know, that it's taking away some power from you.
Don't you feel that fear plays a part in this somehow? That, you know, when I'm caught up in a fear of losing something, whether it's a relationship, whether it's some material thing, a position, it's very hard to be compassionate at that moment, to put my own needs to one side. And as Sarah mentioned, the golden rule, you know, that treat others as I would wish to be treated. And I think some of you may know about the Charter for Compassion, Karen Armstrong's work, that is all based on this, the golden rule. But, you know, there's a fear that kicks in, which somehow I feel then suppresses that natural tendency to compassion, because I think love and compassion really are very enduring qualities of a human being. They are actually natural, but they get suppressed. And Sister Chakradari was mentioning this thing that, you know, ego, the root of sin is ego and arrogance, and the root of good work, dharma, righteousness is compassion. And you know, the ego, if I'm living off my ego, it creates a lot of fear within, doesn't it? Yeah.
I'm afraid that my industry is and I'm not taking responsibility for everybody, all right? But I'm afraid that my industry is one of the instruments that continues to promote that. In the press, there's a saying, if it bleeds, it leads. That's a terrible thing to tell a young journalist to coming into the media. The violence that we see on films, you know, the children who are being abused. I'm afraid that somewhere in society, we were talking about this the other night, you know, that is it my tinnitus? That art in society is a very, very special and almost sacred ingredient. And that somewhere along the line, artists have become commodities. And so the channeling of whatever creativity comes through an artist is narrowed down or funneled to just one avenue. When you find that great violinists or great musicians are also fantastic painters, you know, or poets, you know, or dancers, or actors, or great sculptors, or whatever. It seems to me that this is a creative energy that's coming on through, that somewhere along the line we have taken and funneled on down to a commodity for one individual, which is why in my particular avenue of the arts, this idea of stereotyping. You know, Sam Jackson, who is a fantastic actor, will always be, to a large degree, the angry black man. And he is a fantastic actor with a wide breadth of experience and professionalism. Yet the media will bring him down to that. You know, the fear factor that you're speaking of, you know, when you see things like Independence Day or the end of the world coming, or the zombies from outer space, or whatever, you know.
Or the terrorists.
Or the terrorists. I mean, this.
All these things are being used as instruments to control us, aren't they? Yeah, yeah.
I'm not suggesting that we just turn off our televisions, because then I would be out of a job. But I think that there is something about being aware and being in the moment, being aware of what you are absorbing, what you are taking in. You know, being responsible for how you digest it, you know, and how you process it so that you can extract from it what you need and jettison what you don't need, you know, so that we don't take in all the poison. And that's down to the individual. And I think that's what you're talking
That's
about.
the key. That's the inner
compassion for the
strength.
self. That's the compassion for the self. I answered my own question. Isn't that
Yeah.
something?
But that's the inner strength that we need, you know,
Yes.
isn't it? To be the master of the self, especially at that moment where you really feel the negativity's coming to you and you want to react, you know. That's the moment where I find, anyway, I have to come back to my being, to the soul,
Yes, yes.
and to remember my original state of being, the compassion and love that I really am, you know? And that's the point where we need to do it. And I know Daddy will tell us a lot about this, you know, how to put a full stop to that thinking that then leads us to see all the negativity and because what you see you absorb, don't you?
Absolutely.
You know,
what you
so-
hear, you absorb as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you can feel vibration on a very subtle level. You can feel that. You know, walking down the street, you know whether the intention of the people coming towards you is good or bad. You know.
Yeah. But then we have to be even, don't you feel, stronger than that negative influence,
Yes.
you know? So I feel if somebody does have that energy around me, I need to be so strong in myself and take that power from God too, to show compassion in a way that will uplift them, you know, and change the atmosphere. I mean, that's really what I feel we're called to do, don't you think?
Yes.
You know, it's not just
Yes.
about protecting the self, but it's really about giving in a way that doesn't compromise me. You know? Real giving. It's not easy, isn't it easy? It's easy.
No, it isn't easy. But I think what it requires, and this is probably a good time for us to take this moment, is
Yeah.
that it requires patience. It requires you to be still, and that's why patience is a virtue, because it's a tool that can be used at a moment like that. Yes?
Absolutely.
So now the moment you've all been waiting for. I'd like to introduce Dadi Janki, whom probably most of you know. Can we just see how many people are here for the first time tonight? Would you just put your hands up? Oh, quite a lot. So maybe you haven't met Dadi Janki before. Well, you're in for a treat. So her body's 97. You can see her soul is probably about 16. She spent a lifetime developing inner peace and power through the practice of Raj Yoga meditation and empowering millions of people to do the same. She's a visionary whose uniqueness lies in her unswerving optimism and a heart rich in compassion. Now, I've known Dadi for about 35 years, and over that time I've certainly had my ups and downs. And my own experience of Dadi is she has, in helping me, she has that real desire to help people come out of their suffering. And I experienced that myself on several occasions when I was having a really tough time. And Dadi would do it through her. She had absolute faith in you, and she's someone who really does, she just refuses to see the negative and the weakness that you have. And she's also somehow, and I think we have to find out what this secret is, it's like she's able to give you power. She gives you strength to get through the difficulties. So I think Dadi for me is someone who really embodies so many aspects of compassion that we must learn from her how we can all do this as well. So I'd like to invite you, Dadi, to come up on the stage and to join the conversation with Maureen and Clarke, and Josu will also come to translate. So welcome, Dadi.
जब मैं ऐसी सभा में बैठती हूँ दिल कहता है सभी को ओम शांति कहे.
When I sit in a gathering like this, my heart's desire is to say Om Shanti to all of you.
ओम शांति.
Om Shanti.
ओम शांति.
Om Shanti.
ओम शांति. सभी ने अच्छे ओम शांति ऐसे.
Om Shanti generally means
इतनी बड़ी बातें सुन रहे थे.
Om Shanti generally means Om, I, the soul, am a
इतनी बड़ी
being of
बातें सुना
peace.
रहा था.
But more than peace, that is giving the experience of happiness with
मोरन
the
कैसी सुना रही थी.
heart bursting with
ये हमारी
happiness.
चक्रधारी बहन मैं क्या सुनाऊं.
So you are hearing such beautiful things from Didi
मैं कहता
Chakradhari
खुशी
Pen,
में.
from Brother Peter and Sister Maureen. So what else can I share?
खुश रहो खुशी बांटो.
So more than compassion, I'd like to share this happiness. Remain happy and share that happiness with everyone.
हम सब दया शब्द के कंपैशन दया है ना. ये है ना दया प्रेम कृपा आशीर्वाद.
As Dadi was listening and then I was translating for her, then she's coming up with these words, and so you try and work out which word goes with which Hindi word. In English you have the three words, kindness, mercy and compassion.
दया माना क्या बोला इंग्लिश में.
That I would say is kindness.
कंपैशन.
Compassion
Rahm.
is raham.
कृपा.
Kripa is mercy.
आशीर्वाद.
And then blessings.
फिर सूक्ष्म सकाश.
And then as a result of all of that, you receive this
Sukhyam.
subtle power, the current.
ये मेरा भाई मिला सूक्ष्म.
So I met Brother Rod Hackney just now, and that's a very subtle feeling of love exchange also, meeting after a long time.
किसने मेरी बात कैच की अभी.
So who quote what I was sharing just now?
कंपैशन सुना पर प्रैक्टिकली.
You heard of compassion, but this was the practical manifestation of it.
कंपैशन माइंड में होनी चाहिए. रहम दिल में होना चाहिए.
Compassion should be in the mind, and kindness should be in the heart.
जी. कहाँ हाथ उठवाया जो मुझे पहला बार देख रहे हैं. मैंने नहीं देखा.
Daddy didn't say who's here for the first time, so put in that question again. If you'd like to raise your hands, who's here for the first time, seeing Daddy for the first time?
भाई रोशनी ज़्यादा करो
Can we
ना.
have a bit more light?
दिखाई पड़ती कोई बात नहीं.
Thank you.
आज का
okay,
दिन हाँ अच्छे से रोशनी अच्छी करो तो अच्छा सब अच्छा. अच्छा बड़ी खुशी है. ये सेवा जो यहाँ आपको लेके आई है दया रहम कृपा आशीर्वाद अभी तो सूक्ष्म सकाश.
Really happy that this topic has brought all of you here, but also at the same time feeling all the things, the different levels, kindness, mercy, compassion, blessings, and then the most powerful of all, the power of current, receiving the current.
आप जानते हो मेरी बताते मैं नहीं कहती हूँ मेरी उम्र बताओ बताते हैं परंतु उस एज में उस 77 इयर्स ब्रह्मा कुमारी बने हुआ क्या बातें नहीं हुई होंगी.
I don't ask you to share this, but whenever people give my introduction nowadays, then they say that I'm 97 years old and I've been practicing this for 77 years. So in all of that time, do you not think that I would have faced
आप तो अपने
things?
बाल बच्चों का बालों से चलेंगे. हम तो सारे संसार के सब जात वालों धर्मों से मिलते हैं.
You're questioning just now earlier conversation with bringing up children and facing all the different tests and
सभी से
everything.
देखो.
But I've had to face people from all different backgrounds from all over the world.
आपको कुछ पूछना हो भले पूछो.
You're most welcome to ask me anything if you want.
पर मैं अंदर जो जड़ है ना वो सुनाएंगे.
But I'll share from deep within, from the roots of
जो सब
everything.
पता चले.
So people really understand what compassion is.
दया कईयों को दया आती है
I've got one. I have a family. I have a wife. I have a child. Sometimes the dynamic, I don't know, who's married out here? Can I see married folks out here?
पूछते हैं शादी किया हुआ कौन है?
Right. Okay, so I think I'm speaking for us. All right? Okay? Yes?
अरे शादी की हुए क्या तकलीफ है? पर जवानों को बिना शादी के हुए पूछो उनका क्या हाल है?
You're asking the married people, but even ask those who are not married, the young ones.
I'll come to that.
अरे शादी आजकल की शादी क्या है?
The reason why I did that is because there's a different dynamic in a relationship that goes over time, that is creating a family that is different from those who are single. Yes? And that it's a very important issue, I think, in relationships. As families, as we see families break down.
जो शादी न किया हुआ होता है, जो अकेली माता ही बच्चों को बड़ा करती है, उसका जो सब बातें सामने आती है वो अलग फीलिंग होती है.
Does that mean don't ask that question?
तुम लोगों ने पाया सुनो जिसको अपने पर दया नहीं आती है वो अकेला हो या शादी किया हुआ हो अंदर दुखी है.
Those who don't have the feeling of compassion for themselves, then doesn't matter whether they're single or married, but they're still experiencing sorrow.
Did you finish your question?
I didn't quite
अकेला
get
है
that. It's okay.
सबके साथ है मैं सबके साथ हूँ.
Whether you're alone or with everyone else.
So
कोई
sometimes
प्रॉब्लम नहीं.
दादी सुनो.
कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. इंग्लिश में है नहीं कोई कहते प्रॉब्लम हिंदी में मुश्किल.
That is using some words and translating for herself problems and difficulties.
मुस्कुराओ.
But in English, when you say problem, don't use the word, but instead just smile.
कोई बात
Then there's no problems.
कोई मुस्कुराओ मुश्किल.
Okay, so that takes me to this point. No, seriously, that it feels that compassion might be an energy, might be a vibration that has an effect on ourselves, on the matter that we are in, as well as those whom we share this world with. Yes?
मेरा भाई इसलिए मैं कंपैशन के साथ और चार शब्द ऐड किया ना प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ में.
This is why I added the other 4 words together with compassion, because we have all of these feelings in our practical life.
So
कोई क्या होता है दया शब्द जो है ना मुझे दया आती है करता कुछ नहीं है दया आती है दया कह के रोता है.
Sometimes people say that I really feel sorry for this person, I feel mercy for this person. They keep on saying this, but they don't do anything.
इसलिए रहम दिल होवे.
This is why we need to have a merciful heart.
किसके बात को समझने के लिए बड़ी दिल होवे.
In order to understand other people's situations, I need to have a big heart.
कोई किसकी बात समझने की कोशिश नहीं करता है.
People nowadays don't try to understand other people's situations.
सुने बच्चे की बात मेरे पास कोई बच्चा है या बूढ़ा है.
Whether it's a child that comes in front of me or an older
आज
person.
नगीन भाई ने एक बेबी को भेजा था 1 बरस बेबी 1 बरस की बेबी.
This morning I met a couple that came with their 1-year-old baby to meet me.
घड़ी घड़ी बेबी मुस्कुराए.
And the baby is lost in her own world and just
माँ
smiling,
बाप
seeing
को
everyone.
मुस्कुराना मुश्किल था पर बेबी को मुस्कुराई.
Parents were a little bit worried about the baby, but the baby was really just in a state of pleasure, enjoying herself.
जो खिलाऊं जो पिलाऊं बेबी मुस्कुराए.
I was feeding this little baby and she was accepting it
तो
with a lot
आज
of
आप
love.
लोग यहाँ से मुस्कुराना सीखना.
So today, all of you who have come here, learn how to smile.
मुस्कुरा तब सकते हैं जो बड़ी बात को छोटा बनाओ, छोटी को बड़ा नहीं बनाओ.
I can only smile when I'm making big things into small things and not the other way, small things into big things.
छोटी बात को सोच के बड़ा बनाते हैं.
We think too much and make small things very big.
तो जो खुद ही बड़ा बनाता है और औरों पर क्या दया करेगा?
So if I'm making everything into a mountain, how am I going to have compassion or mercy for anyone
उसका
else?
माइंड बेचारा 1 मिनट भी शांत नहीं होता है.
You'll find that their mind is not able to be peaceful for even 1 minute.
दिल में एक दिन के लिए 1 मिनट भी किसी के लिए प्यार नहीं पैदा होता है.
There isn't the feeling of love for others for even a minute.
मन को चाहिए शांति,
The mind needs peace.
दिल में चाहिए प्यार.
The heart needs to have love.
ये नहीं कि दिल में शांति चाहिए,
You don't speak of having peace in the heart,
दिल में प्यार चाहिए,
love in the
मन में
heart,
शांति हो.
peace in the mind.
कैसे होंगी?
How is
तो
that
ऐसी
possible?
बातों को समझने से पहले अपने ऊपर रहम करो, प्रभु करो, रहम करो.
In order to understand such things, I need to have this mercy for myself. So now I'm using the word mercy more than compassion.
मेरे को ब्रह्मा बाबा ने, मेरे अंदर बहुत इंटरेस्ट था. ब्रह्मा बाबा चलते ही मुस्कुराते, सबको खुश कर देता.
I was very interested in watching Brahma Baba, our founder, and I used to watch him.
इतना कैसी भी आत्मा होंगे,
Whatever the situation was, whoever came in front of him, but he
भाई
was
मेरा,
always smiling.
कोई भी कैसी भी हो, किसके लिए उसको दिल में नफरत नहीं थी.
Never had the vision of dislike or hatred for anyone in his whole
बहुत
life,
नुकसानकार है.
because this is very damaging.
अपने ऊपर रहम करो.
Let me have mercy for myself.
प्रैक्टिकल हम हजारों लाखों कंडीशन आई है.
In a practical way, I've come into connection with hundreds
न
and
किसी
thousands
के
of
ऊपर
people,
प्रभावित, बस यही अच्छा है.
but not
न
being
किसी की
influenced by anyone.
नफरत.
Not to be influenced by anyone, not to have any feelings of
उसमें क्या
hatred or
होता है?
dislike.
अंदर दया, रहम, कृपा ईश्वर की हमारे ऊपर है.
When there's a feeling of mercy and compassion within, then there's a feeling of this kindness, God's kindness
तो
on
हमारे
self.
हिंदी में गीत है, तुम मात पिता हम बालक तेरे, तुम्हारी कृपा ते सुख गनेरे.
We have a song in Hindi which is saying, you are the mother and father, we are your children, and it's because of your grace, your kindness, that we have a lot of happiness in our life.
ये गीत गाऊं, तुम मात पिता बालक तेरे, तुम्हारी कृपा ते सुख घनेरे.
That's how they used to sing the song in the early days.
तो जिसके पास सुख होगा,
It's those who have this happiness,
वो देने बगैर रह नहीं सकेगा.
they can't stay without sharing
तो
that
ये
with
बाबा की
others.
बात सुना रही थी, तो बाबा ने सभा के बीच में पूछा, किसको दुख तो नहीं देती हो?
In a gathering, Brahma Baba asked me, do you ever give sorrow to anyone?
मैंने कहा नहीं देती हूँ. अच्छा है.
I said no, and Baba said, that's very good.
न दुख देना न लेना.
Don't give sorrow, don't take sorrow.
इसको कहा जाए दया, रहम, कृपा की प्रैक्टिकली अनुभव जो है ना, औरों को सुख देता है.
This is the practical experience of kindness, mercy, compassion.
Can I have a question?
पूछना है.
This appears to be a state that takes time for us to arrive at. It feels that the momentum of life is such that it's difficult at times to accumulate the strength to exercise
ऐसे
patience.
लगता है
Yes.
कि इस स्थिति तक पहुंचना बहुत समय लगता है. उसके लिए हमारे अंदर शक्ति इकट्ठी करना भी बहुत ज़रूरी है. पहले से अंदर की ताकत होना ज़रूरी है.
So what should one
ठीक है,
do?
ठीक है, ठीक है.
तो हमें क्या करें?
सुनो सुनो सुनो. आजकल आजकल
Nowadays,
हर बात का फैशन ऐसा है
there's fashion of so many things.
जो शुरू होती है ना चारों तरफ दुनिया में हो जाती है
Begins in one place, one corner, and spreads so fast all over the world.
ये कुर्सियाँ हैं भारत में मुझे ऐसी कुर्सी मिलेंगी
Take this chair for instance.
यहाँ भी ऐसी
They'll
मिलती है
copy it from here and she'll get the
जहाँ
same
भी
chair in
ऐसी
India.
मिलेंगी। कोई कल प्रोग्राम था वहाँ जो प्रोग्राम में कुर्सियाँ थी जहाँ था वो कुर्सियाँ होंगी
So wherever there's a program, they have the same chairs. Like you'll see all the centers, Brahma Kumaris centers are using the same type of chair. So
समझेंगे
it's like
अच्छी है
spreading everywhere. You think
बस
that it's
अच्छी है
good.
ना
You think it's good, and so you want to use it, and everyone else starts using it also.
Okay.
पहले हम समझते थे ये हमारे लिए है सर पर बात वास्तव के लिए जब मैं विदेश में आई देखा हर इंसान के लिए है
When we first got this knowledge, then we were thinking that it's just for us people in India. But then when I came abroad in 1974 and I was sharing with everyone here, then I realized that really it's for everyone. Everyone
ये
needs
है
it.
इंसान है ये भी इंसान है तुम भी है मैं भी हूँ
All of us are human beings, doesn't matter what color.
इंसान को दो आंखें भले चमड़ी काली है गोरी है कुछ ऐसे
Whatever color of the skin may be, but we are all human beings with the same face and features.
फीलिंग सेम है
We have same feelings.
अगर मुझे अच्छी फीलिंग आती है एक पास मेरे पास बुक है मैं देख प्योर फीलिंग
We had a
गुड
book
विशेस
put together, good wishes and
ये
pure feelings.
कंपैशन सब नहीं है प्रैक्टिकली एंड द फीलिंग
It's not just a question of the word compassion, but to have the practical feeling
Itni
So
inside.
in the world today, is something because of the way the world is today, there's lots of opportunities to exercise
मैं कहूँ
compassion,
नहीं
correct?
मेरी बात
Dadi, ek minute.
सुनो ना मेरी बात सच्ची है मानो पर नहीं वो कहे ये बात सच्ची है
उसका कहना है कि दुनिया में इतनी सारी बातें होती है तो उसी समय हमारे ज़रूरी होता है कि हमारे दिल में कंपैशन हो क्योंकि वो फीलिंग जब होंगी तो ही तो हम वो बातों का सामना कर सकेंगे.
नहीं नहीं बहन भाई मेरी बात समझो थोड़ा धीरे रखो
Have a little patience, understand what I'm saying.
कंपैशन के लिए पेशेंस चाहिए
For compassion, you need to have patience.
परंतु कल मेरा था क्या था थिंकिंग और डूइंग
Last night the topic at Savoy
Topic is
was
thinking.
seeing, thinking and doing.
वंडरफुल थी टॉपिक
It's a wonderful topic.
पर मैंने कहा मैं तो सोचती नहीं हूँ
And I said, but I don't think too much.
अंदर माइंड को सच्चाई से प्रेम से खुशी से शक्तिशाली बनाओ
I have to make my mind very powerful with
अब ये समझ
truth,
अभी कर सकते हैं सच्चाई से
with truth, love,
प्रेम से खुद को प्यार करो
and happiness. So let me have love for my own self.
कहीं है खुद को प्यार करने का टाइम नहीं है
Some people don't give time to themselves. They don't have that
तो औरों
love
को
for
कैसे प्यार
themselves.
करेंगे
So how can you have love for others?
मैं खुद को प्यार करता हूँ
I love myself. I give love
You're
to
not alone.
myself.
क्योंकि खुद को प्यार क्यों न करेंगी
Why would I not have love for myself?
जो परमात्मा बाप ने शिक्षाएं धारण करने के लिए शक्ति दी है
God, my Father, has given me power to be able to imbibe and bring into my practical life the teachings that He has taught me.
और कोई न काम की बात अंदर जाती नहीं है
And that's why things that are not useful, I don't allow them to go inside me.
इसमें इनसाइड आउट मेरे इनसाइड कुछ न हो वो जो हो बाहर मिले बाहर की बात अंदर न जावे
There's another book of Dadi's teachings, and that's called Inside Out, and that's actually
में आने की
practically
बात है।
teaching
सुबह से रात तक
whatever is
होंगी।
inside, you bring that
पर वो
out.
बदल जाए
Whatever's outside, you don't allow that to come in.
कैसे बदलेंगे
And that
ये
is
सुबह को से लेकर रात तक जो बातें हुई हैं ये बात ये बात ये बात ये बात
From morning till night, many things will come in
वो
front
क्या
of
दया
you.
करेगा
And if I sit holding on to those things, well, there's this thing and this
Daya.
thing and this thing, how can I have compassion?
धर्म मेरा है शांत रहना
My religion is to remain peaceful.
सच्चाई और प्रेम से सबको रिगार्ड देना
Give regard to everyone with honesty and
रिस्पेक्ट
love.
देना रिगार्ड देना तेरे को मैं क्या दूँ रिस्पेक्ट दूँ रिगार्ड दूँ
What should I give you, respect or regard? There's
Say
a
that
difference.
again?
That is saying, what should I give you, respect or regard?
Regard me, please.
Regard.
नहीं रिगार्ड पीछे पहले रिस्पेक्ट देती
First comes respect.
इंग्लिश आप जानते हो पर ये 4-5 महीने से मुझे किसी ने कहा जयंती नहीं कहा रिस्पेक्ट और रिगार्ड को स्पष्ट करो
Since the last few months, Sister Jayanti has been asking Dadi to
Madhuban ne
clarify
kaha.
this, the subject of regard and respect, that there is a difference between the two.
अभी मैं आपको रिस्पेक्ट देती हूँ
I give you respect
उसका आपको फ़ायदा मिलता है
and you receive the benefit of that.
इतना फ़ायदा मिलता है जो औरों को तुम्हारे लिए रिगार्ड पैदा होगा
And you receiving so much benefit of it that others develop that much regard for you.
उसलिए रिकॉर्ड अच्छा रखना मैं ये से बोलेगी
And then as a result of that, you have to make sure that your record is always good.
अच्छा रिकॉर्ड
Maintaining a good record of
सब
everything that
देखेंगे
you're
जो
doing.
आपको जानते हैं
Well, my ear's just being pulled then.
जो आपको जानते हो कहेंगे इस पे इतना परिवर्तन कैसे आया
Then people who are watching you, they'll say, how did so much transformation come about in
हमारा
yourself?
काम है हमारा काम है सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट में रहना आपको रिस्पेक्ट देना
It's my duty to maintain my own self-respect and give respect to you.
ये संबंध अब छोटे बच्चे को रिस्पेक्ट नहीं देंगे पर स्नेह तो दो
Okay, you may not give respect to a little child, but at least give them love.
क्यों बच्चे बेचारे ऐसे नाराज रहते दुखी रहते हैं
Why do
क्योंकि बच्चों को
children,
बचपन से लेकर के माँ बाप का स्नेह नहीं मिलता है
why do children remain upset or feel sorrow about everything? It's
भाई
because
बहनों
their
को स्नेह नहीं
parents
मिलता है।
don't give them that love. They don't have the good
बच्चों में
company.
भी ईर्ष्या होती है मम्मी इसको प्यार करती मुझे नहीं करती है
There's jealousy in the children and brothers and sisters that one brother receives more love from the parents than the others.
मैं तो संसार समाचार नहीं सुनती हूँ न देखती हूँ पर प्रैक्टिकल क्या हो ये भावना है सभी आज के दिन ऐसा अपने आप में लेवे जो हजारों को देवे
I don't listen to the news or watch the TV, but the practical feeling is that people should receive all of this so that they can benefit. Hundreds of thousands should be able to benefit in this way.
आप कहते हो ना टाइम लगता है टाइम नहीं लगता है पर टाइम राइट तरह से अपन को दो
You were saying earlier that it takes time. It doesn't take time, but I have to make sure I give time to myself.
अच्छी तरह से क्वालिटी टाइम की
Yes, yes.
I need to spend quality time with my own self.
Yes, yes.
तो सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट में रहना अभिमान नहीं हो
To maintain my own self-respect, not to have any kind of ego or arrogance.
सत्यता पहले पवित्रता सत्यता
First of all, to have that purity, then truth,
धीरता
patience,
निम्रता
humility.
मधुरता
Result is sweetness.
This is why.
ये अपने
before-
आप को
This is why before going to work,
ऐसा लायक बनाना है
I try. This is why before going to work, I try to sit quietly with myself.
इसलिए मैं
And-
कोशिश करता हूँ अपने साथ
and
शांति से
review.
बैठने का और अंदर से देखे
Actions, thoughts,
अपने
but not
Sankalp
everyone, and sometimes it
और
has a
कर्मों को
knock-on
देखे।
effect, with others who are around me. They may feel that, and they may figure what's going on and calm down themselves. And I think
तो
that we
मेरी शांति से मेरे आजू बाजू में जो होते हैं उनको भी इस वायुमंडल जो बनता है उसका असर होता है तो उन्हों को भी लगता है, उन्हों को प्रेरणा मिलती है ऐसे शांत में रहने का और ऐसे अच्छे कर्म करने का।
तो शांत
पूरा नहीं किया है।
So it's
एक मिनट दादी।
एक विधि बताती हूँ। शांत में रहने में बीच में कोई पुरानी बात का संकल्प या पराई बात का ना आवे।
While sitting in silence, then I have to make sure that there isn't any disturbance of anything of the past or of anyone else.
तो वाइब्रेशन
yes.
बड़े पावरफुल होंगे।
Then I'm able to create powerful vibrations which will influence
मैं भले
others.
तुम्हारे बीच में बात करती हूँ, तुम करता ये अच्छा है।
It's good that while I'm trying to say something, that you are trying to say something.
ये सपोर्ट करने के लिए है। ये संवाद जो है ना संवाद,
It's good to have this dialogue.
ये सपोर्ट करेगा।
It will bring a lot of clarification.
Yes. Well, I'm giving
Pantu-
respect and regard.
Thank you. वो अपनी बात कहने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, लेकिन फिर कहते मैं आपको भी रिस्पेक्ट और रिगार्ड देता हूँ।
नहीं, तेरा काम है मुझे रिगार्ड।
Your duty too
मेरा
to give
काम
me
है
regard,
फिर तुमको रिगार्ड मिलेगा।
and then you'll receive regard.
Oh,
Suno.
my sister.
सुनो, ये रिस्पेक्ट रिगार्ड की बात मेरे बुद्धि में बहुत अच्छी आई है। समझो, मैं मोरन बिजी है।
My turn now.
Dadi's been really deeply touched by this whole subject of regard and
देखो,
respect.
मैं
And so she says,
आप
I
ऊपर
make
में
time
आए
for
देखा,
others, but they're
मैं
busy.
बाबा के रूम से पास करेंगी।
Every time I go to my room, I go past our meditation room. And just looking there.
बड़ों को बड़ों मना, जहाँ से मुझे बहुत कुछ मिल रहा है। वो मेरे घर मांगते नहीं है, पर मेरी जीवन के आधार है वो।
My seniors who have really given me a lot, they don't ask me for anything, but I have really received so much from them that I feel that deep regard for them.
क्यों कदम कदम पर सावधान रहने की समझ मिली है।
It's because at every step I've received the understanding to be
कदम
cautious
कदम
at every
सावधान
step.
करके कोई कहे ये भी ऐसा करता है, ये डिसरिगार्ड है।
If sometimes someone says, well, does this one also do it like this and not doing something rightly? That's
बड़ों
actually
ने क्या
having
सिखाया है?
disregard.
ये रिगार्ड देना, प्रेरणा की कृपा हमारे ऊपर है।
When I have regard for others, then I'm able to experience their grace on me. I receive blessings from them.
और समझो, मैंने आपको यहाँ ऐसे कई भाई बहनें यहाँ बैठी है, समझो जब से पैदा हुई होंगे।
I'm sure there's many brothers and sisters sitting here who, from the moment that they've taken birth, the spiritual
रिस्पेक्ट दिया
birth,
होगा।
I've given respect to them.
कभी नहीं समझाऊंगा ये स्टूडेंट है हमारी।
I've never thought of them as being my students and myself being a teacher.
तो उस रिस्पेक्ट देने से उसको अपनी पहचान आ जाती है।
By giving respect to others, you're able to make them
अपनी
recognize
पहचान
their
आ
own self.
I have a question for
More
Dadi
इनको
actually,
पूछना है.
if I may. That you give respect to others, you hold them in high esteem, high regard.
दूसरों को
And then
respect देते हो,
sometimes
ऊंची दृष्टि से देखते
somebody
हो,
may do
लेकिन फिर
something
कोई कुछ ऐसा करता है
that could disappoint you. You
जो
know, they
आप-
don't behave in the way that you
आपको थोड़ा
think is
disappointment हो
worthy of
जाती है.
them.
मुझे हो जाती है।
And
नहीं,
so they
मतलब वो
not our
आपकी नहीं बात कर रही, लेकिन हमारा
you
व्यवहार में
know,
ऐसा हो
I'm
जाता
talking
है
in
कभी.
general, but and so
कोई
then
ऐसा
how
कुछ
do
करता
you
है जो
deal
हम
with that
disappoint हो जाते हैं.
disappointment within?
तो
Because you
उसके
have
साथ हम
given
कैसे
them
deal करें?
regard,
हमने
you
तो
feel
उसको
they're
regard
very
किया
good
है,
people,
ऊंची दृष्टि
and
से
then
देखा है, लेकिन
something
उन्होंने
happens
कुछ
and you
ऐसा
feel the
गलत
sense of
किया है.
disappointment. So how do you deal with that inside?
उन्होंने
Because
कुछ
Daddy must
ऐसा
also get
समझा.
that disappointment at times.
एक सेकंड साइलेंस करती हूँ।
A moment of
Listen,
silence to
आपने
just
ये
think
nature
about
है।
this.
कोई आप जिस भावना से बोल रही हो, वो उसको उल्टा उठा करके तुमको बोल रहे हैं।
Sometimes I say something to another person with a
Practically,
pure
it is
feeling,
remember
pure
Visala.
intention, but then they take it wrongly.
उसको जो बोलना है बोले.
Whatever they want to say, let them say it.
मैं शांति और प्रेम
But with peace and love, the
नहीं छोड़ूं.
pure vibration, I don't leave
पर
them
अपने
aside.
आप कितना भी बोलेंगे, मैं शांत, शिकल में चेंज ना होए.
Doesn't matter what someone else is saying, I shouldn't be
देखो
influenced
क्या
by
बोलती हो?
that and not allow my face to change. Not
So-
think, well, what are you saying? And you get affected by it.
तो उसमें इंग्लिश अक्षर मैंने अंदर पक्का किया है. हर बात एक्सेप्ट करो, एक्सपेक्ट नहीं करो.
For this, I've learnt these English words. Accept everything and don't expect anything.
मैं कुछ एक्सपेक्ट दूसरा करती थी,
I
ये
used
कुछ
to.
और कर रही है.
I have a different expectation of them and they're doing something else. That's when I get disappointed.
अगर ये ख्याल आया तो मुझे सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट नहीं है.
If I have such thoughts, if I become disappointed, it means I don't have that
तो आप
self-respect.
साइलेंस में बैठ के नहीं चलते फिरते भी सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट में रहने के बहुत
Whilst
अच्छा मटेरियल है, बहुत अच्छा.
there's lots of very beautiful material to help me maintain my self-respect, whether I'm sitting or walking around, but just remembering
use
these
करो.
things. So let me use these materials.
तो वो खुशी की जैसे हमको खोराक के मुँह पे काम करती है.
Then they work like this nourishment of happiness. It's like feeding yourself with those things for
समझो
self-respect.
बात पर समझ के सामना की जो कल बात थी, समझो कोई भी बात है, वो बात को मैं जानती हूँ, दोष नहीं है, जानती हूँ दोष है, तो ये फीलिंग नहीं आती है.
When you know someone's done something wrong and you're aware of it, the other person's also aware of it, but then you don't feel anything for that person, but instead you say that it's okay, I know that, but you can't blame that person, it's not their fault. And you have this feeling of compassion for them that you really can't, they can't be blamed for what they're doing.
और ये रहम आता है तो कोई विधि से इसको कंपनी दे करके चेंज होने में मदद करें.
The feeling of compassion is there that let me find a method to help that person bring about some change and to help them.
The compassionate mind.
सूख्य मैं
This is wisdom, isn't it?
सूख्य
This is
मैं
wisdom.
मैं अपने सीट पर सेट रहूं, कभी अपसेट ना हूं.
Main thing is let me remain set on my seat of self-respect and don't allow myself
जैसे
to
ब्रह्मा
become
बाबा.
upset. This is how Brahma Baba always used to be.
सीट पर सेट.
Set on my seat of position.
ठीक है. जरा भी मेरे फेस में चेंज ना आए.
And that will ensure that I don't allow there to be the slightest change of being affected by
ये पुरानी
anything on my
बात.
face.
पहले तो मैं एक बात सुनाती हूँ. बहुत साल पहले मैं समझती हूँ जब मैं यहाँ लंदन में आई थी उन दिनों में ही कहाँ कोई दूर दूर को मुझे बुलाया था मेडिटेशन के हिसाब से. वहाँ मेडिटेशन सिखाते थे. मिलते ही जब तक मेडिटेशन बात निकले, यू आर वेरी काइंड. मुझे पता काइंड शब्द का अर्थ भी तभी समझ. यू आर वेरी काइंड.
This is when I first
क्या
arrived
मैंने
here, and we had been invited somewhere to go for meditation. And even before we actually started the meditation, I met a few people there, and one of them said to me, "You are very kind," even before practicing meditation. And it was then that I understood the meaning of the word kindness.
जब कोई बात की खराब फीलिंग नहीं आती है ना, वो काइंड है.
It's when you don't have any bad feeling for anything that happens that you're able to be kind.
तो कंपैशन एंड काइंड.
Kindness and compassionate.
रहम है. भगवान कहता है आजकल ईर्ष्या थोड़ी सूक्ष्म ऐसी है कि इसको सुखी को सहन नहीं करते, दुखी को मदद नहीं करते.
But nowadays you find that people have feelings of jealousy such that if someone is happy, they can't bear to see that one happy. And where someone is feeling sorrow, they're not able to do anything to help that person.
पुरानी बातें चलते फिरते मैंने कभी अच्छी बातें can I help you?
That is, met some people and just was walking
Chalte,
along the
chalte.
street. Some people would say, "Can I help you?" So this is a practical form of
पूछेंगे मैंने
kindness.
हेल्प करने लगा
You don't even know them, and they'll say, "Can I help you?" They begin to help you.
वो भाई तुमने बहुत मदद मैंने नहीं की टाइम पर भगवान ने सेवा पर भेजा
Sometimes someone will say, "You really helped me a lot," and I'd say, "But I really didn't do anything. But it was God who sent me to you at the right time."
यानी ये इंसानियत है आज के जो विषय चली है जो प्रोग्राम है किस तरह सारे विश्व को इस प्रकार का व्यवहार हो इंसान का आपस में तो दुख अशांति हिंसा चली जाएंगे
The topic that you've taken up tonight is a very beautiful topic. It's a sign of having that feeling of humanitarianism for everyone, of how to actually finish all kinds of negative feelings, to finish all kinds of violence in the world.
ये बहुत मुझे अच्छा लगा ग्लोब रखा है
I really like the picture that you've got here with the globe,
ये वाइब्रेशन
giving vibrations to the world.
बुद्धि बेहद में है
The intellect being in the unlimited.
कोई मनी मान का भूख नहीं है
No hunger for money or
इतना भी नहीं है
honor, position, anything, not the slightest.
मुझे मनी में या मान मिले
No desire for money or
वो निष्काम
respect.
सेवादारी नहीं है
Then I can't be a selfless server.
सेवादारी माना सच्ची दिल बड़ी दिल
To be a real, true server means to have an honest heart and a big heart.
रिटर्न क्या दे रहे हैं ऐसा रिटर्न अभी नहीं मांगना है
No need to ask for a return for something that
कभी
you're
नहीं
doing,
मांगना है एक्सपेक्ट नहीं करना है
not to have any
परंतु
expectations.
ये भी बाबा ने बताया था बच्चे तुम सेवा करते चल आखिर जिसके सामने कोई परीक्षा आती है यही घर याद आएंगी
Baba had told us, child, just continue to serve selflessly, and don't wait for any results. But a time will come when people face tests or situations, then they'll remember this particular moment that you had been serving them, and that will help them.
ये संगठन याद आएगा
They'll remember the gathering that they were in. That will give them power.
उसमें पेशेंस पीस एंड लव
Within that, the feeling of
Patience.
patience, peace, and love.
पीस लव प्रैक्टिकली लाइफ में हो
To have this in a practical way in your life. Patience, peace, and love.
ओके
Okay?
That works for me.
तालियां नहीं बजाओ
It works for me.
तालियां नहीं बजाओ हाथ से ऐसे ऐसे करो
Acknowledgement of what Dadi's been sharing, not
ऐसे
with an
करेंगे ना,
upload,
पहले ऐसे
but by
करेंगे।
accepting it with
ऐसे फिर
ways.
ऐसे
Then you can actually receive the blessings and then be flying like
जो
an
क्रिश्चियन
angel.
एंजल होते हैं ना
Angels always flying like that. The hand of protection also.
ओके अभी साइलेंट पे
We'll have 2 minutes of silence now with Sister Maureen giving the commentary.
में डालो कुछ
I'd like to share a few thoughts with you.
मेरे पास बहुत अच्छी चीज सुनो जैसे भाई ने कहा एक मिनट ठहरो एक मिनट ठहरो मनसा को देख करके प्रवाणी में आओ
Look at the state of your mind and then come into sound.
कर्म और मनसा अंदर सूक्ष्म
Thoughts and actions. Thoughts is very subtle.
बड़ा मनसा दया धर्म वाली है, दया वाली है,
When,
तो कर्म ऑटोमेटिकली।
when my mind is filled with the
आज
feeling
के जो
of,
शब्द है ना, प्रैक्टिकली यहाँ अंदर चला जाए।
when my mind is filled with the feeling of kindness and compassion, then automatically I'll perform such actions, and there'll be that feeling of reassurance in the heart.
दिल में देखो, खुश रहने की कमाई कितनी किया।
Look into your own heart. How much did I earn today to remain happy? The power of happiness within, how much did I accumulate inside?
Thank you. Actually, I've been hearing from Dadi for well over 30 years and just been very, very touched by her wisdom tonight. And so I'd like us to spend a few moments in reflection, in meditation, so that we too begin to experience the beauty of a compassionate mind and the power of a compassionate mind. So be comfortable, relax, share a few thoughts. Om Shanti. Now let us spend a few precious moments going into our own inner world. The world of pure thoughts and feelings. For this precious time, leaving behind the world of negativity and fear, and experiencing the true wealth that I have inside, the treasures within my own self, my own being. To find that place of stillness, of peace. The stillness that allows my true nature of love and compassion to emerge. As a loving and compassionate being. I have true dignity within. The dignity of the truth of who I really am. And in that state of love, I draw to myself the love and compassion of the divine. My love within. connects with the divine love of God. And I feel the current of love, the current of power. In that current, there is not only compassion, but also kindness, mercy, and blessings. My mind and my heart become one, filled with compassion that overflows to all living beings on this earth. Creating a world of love, a world of happiness, a world of dignity. Om Shanti. Thank you.
I'd like to thank all our conversationalists, Clarke for being so patient and persistent, Dadi for sharing her depths of wisdom and her energy, and Josu for her skillful translation in slightly difficult circumstances sometimes. And thank you, Maureen, for leading us on that very deep and powerful meditation, taking us into our true nature of love and compassion. So what will I take from this evening? What will you take from this evening? Just have a little think back over all the themes we've explored. Chakradari Ben was telling us how, for her, sharing happiness with others and sharing spiritual knowledge, she felt that was the compassion she brought to the area she served. And Clarke and Maureen were really thinking about what does it mean to be compassionate for ourselves, and how being aware of what we take in and really making choices about what we choose to take in and accept is having compassion for ourselves. And I think Dadi picked up on that theme as well, about making time for yourself and making that space for yourself. And it really requires us to be still. And I found Dadi's discussion about how we start with kindness and then have mercy, compassion, blessings, and then leading to Sakash, this word which really captures the power and the energy that compassion is, which I think Clarke was alluding to, really, that it's an energy in and of itself, and it's a power that one can give, and that's what you use in service. So Dadi was reminding us, I think she was saying, don't use the word problem, just smile, make big things into small things, and have a peaceful mind and a heart full of love. And she talked about God's kindness on the self, and how all human beings have these feelings. When she's travelled all around the world, she's seen it. But by giving respect and regard to others, they learn to respect themselves. And I like that little phrase, accept, don't expect. That's a good little mantra, isn't it, to take home with us. And a real true server, this feeling that compassion really is to take away the suffering of others, serves with an honest and big heart, and really the feeling that God has sent me and done this service. So I think a very rich evening for all of us when we look back at all the things we've heard. So thank you all for coming and being part of the energy in the room and being present to share these feelings, and for everyone who's also watching on the internet and the webcam, hello and goodbye.
Daddy was earlier saying, ask Peter to sing a song.
Oh.
And I said, we'll see when that's an appropriate moment.
Okay.
We can. It's the feelings of the heart which don't need words. Today is not going to happen again. What's happening now is going to be just
true.
now.
This is very true. There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy. They say he wandered very far over land and sea. A little shy and sad of eye, but very wise was he. Well, one magic day he passed my way, and while we spoke of many things, fools and kings, this he said to me: the greatest thing you will ever learn is just to love and be loved in return.